Hi, I'm Rev Myron. I'm a minister through Pathways of Light, and I've been a Course in Miracles student for 40 years. Normally, I've been going through the text this year, um, reading a paragraph or two at a time and gaining clarity from Jesus and then writing about it. But today, I want to share with you an article that I wrote based on A Course in Miracles. And so let's go ahead and get started on that. And the name of the article was, "And Then Everything Changed." In the past, start with the past. Up until I was in my 30s, my life was chaotic. I was raised in an alcoholic home. We moved constantly, and I had little stability in my home and friends that came and went too quickly to build strong relationships. I was the oldest of 6 kids and had a lot of responsibility with no guidance on handling it. I was afraid of everything, and I had little self-esteem. For most of my life, I was racked with guilt. As A Course in Miracles phrases it, a lot was seen, but nothing happened. Unfortunately, it was going to be a long time before I would understand and accept that nothing happened. But then I found A Course in Miracles and everything changed. There were a lot of changes, and they were all based on ideas I learned from this wonderful book and through my connection with the Holy Spirit. I'm not going to put these changes in any particular order, just ideas I accepted and the changes that occurred. Started by looking at my worth as a wife and mother. I suppose a better way to say that is I looked for my worth. I tried to establish my worth as a wife and mother. But the Course tells us this in chapter 4. Your worth is not established by teaching or learning. Your worth is established by God. I began by doubting my worth, and then I did as most people do. I tried to establish my worth. First, I tried to be a wife, but wasn't very good at it. I tried being a mom, and that attempt did nothing to establish my worth. I worked at many jobs, and none of them made me worthy in my own eyes. When I read in the Course that God established my worth, and nothing I do or think or wish or make is necessary to establish my worth, well, everything changed. This was the beginning of my journey to remembering who I am. I was created perfect, and nothing can change this. So when I made parenting mistakes, they were just mistakes, not sins. I began to enjoy my children rather than letting fear drive my decisions about them and the things I taught them. Of course, that wasn't immediate, and there were lots of lessons I had to learn along the way. But I think I did well enough to establish a stronger sense of self in them and a fearlessness that scared me to death. Because I was always trying to establish my worth through what I did as a mother, I leaned on their accomplishments as proof that I was a worthy parent. When I finally learned my worthiness lesson, I quit doing that. I'm happy for their accomplishments, and their difficult lessons and seeming failures don't diminish my sense of worth anymore. Only our relationships are stronger and happier now that I'm not asking them to live for me or depending on their lives to define mine. I just love them, no matter what is going on in their lives or in mine. Then I tried gaining worth through being a salesperson. Work was a place where I learned many lessons about self-worth. In my last job, and the only one that lasted very long, I was in sales. My whole job revolved around competition and the need to stay on top. As I began to get good at it, I became confused about who I was. I started to think that I was what I did, that I was a good salesperson or sometimes a bad one. With this confusion in identity, I thought I was what I accomplished or failed to accomplish in my work. I would sometimes see myself as worthy and sometimes not. This was a painful way to live, always uncertain as to who I was, because in my mind, identity was fused with accomplishments and failures. What happened eventually is that I stopped judging myself as good or bad and accepted that I was doing the best I could. In the end, what difference would it make? When I leave this dimension, I won't be taking any plaques or other forms of accolades with me. I will be taking only the love I learned and gave. I stopped trying to compete for customers and started trying to be helpful to those I had. Paradoxically, I gained more customers and felt better about my job and myself. I treated my customers with loving kindness and respect because I now had that to give. I've been retired for a few years now, and I still hear from some of my customers. And then there's this. Everyone is my brother, and everyone is me. The Course says the holiest of all spots on earth is where an ancient hatred has become a present love. One of my favorite passages, and that's in chapter 26. All through the Course, we're told that we go home together and that we are one. We are encouraged to love each other and forgive everything. That is certainly not how I lived before. I held on to grievances as if they were my salvation, and I suppose from the ego perspective, they were. If I remembered how I was done wrong and learned to avoid those situations and people, the ego reasoned that I could protect myself from further pain. The only thing that actually happened was broken relationships and a solid wall that seemed to protect me, but actually kept love out. What I've learned that changed everything is that I am the only one hurting me. It is always only my thoughts that cause me to suffer. I stopped looking outward for the source of my suffering, and so I stopped blaming others. If I was upset about what someone said to me, I would do some self-inquiry to get to the root cause of my upset and there forgive it. Finally, something that actually worked. If I'm ever tempted to attack a brother in thought, word, or deed, I remember this. You cannot enter God's presence if you attack his son. And this, you cannot enter God's presence with the dark companions beside you, but you also cannot enter alone. All your brothers must enter with you, for until you have accepted them, you cannot enter. And from the power of decision, there are so many wonderful truths in this book that have changed my life that it's hard to choose only a few. Learning that I'm never a victim of the world was a game changer for me because I thoroughly believed that I was, and I held on to that belief for a long time. But I want to talk about this one. Choice. It's a one freedom we leave ourselves, but it's the only one we need. We have the power of decision at our fingertips and must use it, either to help or hurt, depending on who we go to for advice, the ego or the Holy Spirit. This is from lesson 152. No one can suffer loss unless it be his own decision. No one suffers pain except his choice elects a state for him. No one can grieve, nor fear, nor think him sick unless these are the outcomes that he wants. And no one dies without his own consent. Nothing occurs but represents your wish, and nothing is omitted that you choose. Here is your world, complete in all details. Here is its whole reality for you, and it is only here salvation is. So it's in 152. This is something that I fully accept and never doubt, not any longer. Before I started studying the Course, I thought I was a victim to the world, my family, my friends, my enemies, and even to myself. I thought that things just happened and that I had to fix them or suffer. But now I know that the cause lies solely in me and that I can change my mind by making a different decision. And well, this changes everything. I have learned that thoughts and beliefs lead to suffering and fear, and I bring those thoughts forward in my mind to the Holy Spirit who looks with me. Together we undo them. We choose against them. I give my willingness and he corrects my thinking. Better thoughts make for a better life and to awakening from the belief in life that can die. These corrected thoughts are like a lighted runway that allowed me to quickly transition to higher ground. Now, instead of feeling like a victim, I use a power of decision to make better choices. And everything changes when it looks like nothing changed. It changed within me so that I remain at peace regardless of what's occurring. And so here is my world, complete in all details. And it's only here salvation is. Thank you so much for joining me in this reading. I hope you enjoyed my article. If you found it helpful, then please like it. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe. And I'll be back tomorrow with another reading.